This diagram illustrates the central linguistic mechanism of James chapter 1. It begins with the Greek word perismosos. In the 1st century, this word contained a deliberate dual meaning. It can describe an external pressure, like a trial or a test. It can also describe an internal lure, a temptation to sin. From this single linguistic pivot, the text splits into two distinct outcomes, one ending in life, the other in death. The 1st chapter of James is a highly structured logic tree. It uses the semantic ambiguity of perismosos to map two opposing, highly deterministic chains. The exact same environmental pressure acts as the starting point for both a positive and a negative progression, requiring a series of intermediate steps to reach the final state. The external environment itself, the trial, carries no moral weight. It is entirely neutral. A difficult circumstance is merely a catalyst that forces an internal reaction. Human spiritual survival is dictated entirely by which internal chain reaction the external pressure sets into motion. Looking at the left side of the chart, the first required element to process the initial trial is wisdom. In this text, wisdom operates strictly as an instrumental means. It is a divine mechanism required to endure the test, linking to a new node sourced directly from God. Acquiring this wisdom requires a specific synergistic prayer relationship. James states that God's character is haplos, a Greek term meaning he gives wholeheartedly, without hesitation and without reproach. There is zero friction or reluctance on the divine side of the equation. The system fails when the human actor operates as a dipsykos, the double-minded person. This double-mindedness describes a structural, relational state. James equates it with being an enemy of God, a walking civil war, whose heart is split between divine reliance and worldly security. James grounds this requirement for single-minded faith directly in the theology of the Shema, the ancient Jewish assertion that the Lord is one. God is unified, complete, and entirely undivided in his purpose. To receive the divine catalyst of wisdom, the human posture must mirror the structural unity of God. A divided mind cannot receive an undivided gift. James highlights a specific, severe external trial to illustrate this process: systemic poverty and the physical vulnerability of the lowly. This graph plots temporal socioeconomic status. James identifies the individuals experiencing this pressure using the word tapainos, meaning lowly or humble. By selecting this term instead of the standard Greek word for poor, he directly correlates material lack with the structural humility required to maintain faith. James enforces a strict phraseological rule throughout his text. He exclusively reserves the word plutos, meaning wealthy, for non-Christian oppressors. He never applies this word to believers, establishing wealth as a theological indicator, not just a financial state. Applying an eschatological framework, the axes entirely invert. James commands the tapinos to boast in their divine exaltation, while the plutos are commanded to boast in their total humiliation. The physical wealth of the plutos is an eschatological dead end. Like a flower subjected to scorching heat, the status of the rich is subject to rapid decay and sudden divine judgment. James's framework highlights the fleeting, penultimate character of the present age. Material lack functions as a structural advantage for faith, while wealth serves primarily to accelerate the trajectory toward judgment. This structural logic creates a massive interpretive problem, the crux interpretum. In the broader Jewish tradition, like the narrative of Genesis 22, God actively orchestrates trials to test human faith. Yet in verse 13, James explicitly states that God tempts no one. This side-by-side comparison of the Greek text highlights a morphological pivot. James uses the ambiguity of the root word to separate the concepts. In verse 12, he refers to perismon, the external test. In verse 13, he shifts to apirastos, the internal temptation to do evil. The purpose of the divine test is the dokimos, an evaluation. It is designed to reveal the hidden depths of human character and verify an individual's fitness for future eschatological co-regency. This laurel wreath represents the physical victor's reward in the Greco-Roman world. James uses this imagery to describe the ultimate reward for passing the dokimos, the crown of life. God evaluates, but he does not lure. James relies on an argument from the lesser to the greater. God is completely untemptable by evil, It is logically impossible for a being entirely immune to evil to act as the author of a lure towards sin. To locate the true vector of temptation, James pulls from intertestamental Jewish theology. The threat originates from the Yetzer, the internal, unchecked human desire. God applies external pressure to verify character, but he never engineers internal failure. The biological responsibility for sin rests exactly on human anatomy. Returning to our flowchart, the negative chain activates when an individual forfeits control to the Yetzer. It follows a rapid three-stage sequence. James uses the word exelko to describe the first phase of being lured. It is an image drawn directly from fishing. The target is mesmerized by the bait, thoroughly blinded to the hook and the ultimate consequences of the strike. The second phase is salubisa, or conception. Here, the imagery shifts to the book of Proverbs, invoking the metaphor of a seductress. Internal desire mates with the human will to produce an illegitimate offspring, sin. This illegitimate child, sin, rapidly matures. James uses the term apotelio to describe sin reaching its full, ugly development. The final phase is described as apokoil, a Greek term carrying the connotation of a hideous, monstrous birth. Sin reaches full maturity and brings forth death. Unchecked internal desire follows a deterministic biological progression. It requires no further external input to inevitably incubate and birth spiritual destruction. This completed logic tree visualizes the entire system of James chapter 1. A single pressure point branches into two absolute outcomes. The environmental trial remains perfectly neutral. The divergence between life and death is dictated by a single variable, the locus of dependency. The individual either turns outward toward God or inward toward the self. Activating the left chain requires drawing down transcendent wisdom through a single-minded relationship. Falling down the right chain requires no effort at all, merely a surrender to default human instincts. God is the architect of the crown of life, actively providing the wisdom necessary to secure it. Humanity, left to its own unchecked desires, remains the sole author of its own destruction.